From above, the village looked like a cracked puzzle waiting to be solved. A grid of roofs collapsed inward like broken teeth, stone outlines of cottages emerging from the thirsty earth. Cefn Coch, drowned 70 years ago beneath the waters of Llanlugan Reservoir, was drying out, bone by bone, courtesy of the country's hottest, longest heatwave. I wasn't supposed to care about that. I was there to fly a drone. Fly, film, land. That was the gig. The thing was, Cefn Coch wasn't just another drowned Welsh village. My great-grandmother had come from there. And once, drunk on sherry and memory, she'd muttered something that had lodged itself in the dark corridors of my family myth. The best thing that ever happened to that place was being flooded. No one asked her what she meant, the mutterings of an old woman in the first grips of dementia. She died 2 years later. I mentioned her remark to my father years later, but he didn't even recall it. So yes, when the crew pitched a short doc about the ruins emerged from the drought, and when Greg said they needed someone to handle drone footage, I signed on without hesitation. I told no one about my family, or the sherry story, or the fact that the moment I stepped onto the exposed lake bed, something in me felt strangely familiar. We filmed the site during the day. The others, Greg, Mel and Lewis, did their thing. Talking head interviews, B-roll, mood shots, boring, slightly predictable stuff. I flew the drone in smooth circles. The village was unremarkable at first glance. Stone walls, gaping windows, ivy reclaiming wood, a half-collapsed church with its tower and steps half gone, drying walls and silence. That evening, back at the hotel, we reviewed the footage as we ate. Most of it was usable, if bland. Too bland, perhaps, too grey. Greg sighed. I didn't mention the face I thought I'd seen in the church tower window. There was a part of me that didn't want to share that. The whole evening, I couldn't rest. I didn't join them late for drinks at the bar. I kept thinking about the church, the way the altar had seemed intact, though blackened, about the village square, perfectly centred, as if preserved by some invisible geometry. Just after 8, with the light thick and gold, I told the others I fancied a drive, wanted one more flight. No one's going to be sober enough to watch it, Greg muttered. I'm just getting some atmospheric shots, I said, already packing the drone, glad somehow that no one had wanted to join me. The light was different at dusk, thicker somehow. The village had a wet gleam to it, even though the soil was bone dry. I launched the drone and fed it through the air like a thread. At first, it was the same. Rooftops, foundations, cracks in the stone. Then the drone turned over the churchyard and something shifted. Figures. They moved oddly, haltingly, as though caught in some misaligned loop, dressed in dark 1950s coats and hats. No faces, no feet touching the ground, just slow-motion processions through the square. I went lower. Yes, there really were figures there. Inside the church, walls that had been blank during the day now bore streaks of red. I brought the drone lower still. The screen fuzzed briefly, then cleared. A shape passed through the door, a figure in a cloak. It stopped, looked up. I brought the drone back, fast as hell. I didn't tell anyone. Not Greg, not Mel, not Lewis. I lied, in fact. I got nothing, forgot the batteries for it. Day 2, more unremarkable shots during the day. In the evening, the others made their respective ways home, tired now of empty stones. I had planned to go home too, but instead I returned to the site. I suddenly felt as if I could see so much more now than in the day. Symbols emerged, carved into doors, drawn in circles on stones. At first, I thought they were spray paint, prank graffiti left by teens, but no, they were runes. I was sure of it. Nordic, occult, protective or binding. Then I saw the writing. A wall, unremarkable in daylight, devoid of words, but now adomed with this. Byth anghofio, byth madde. Never forget, never forgive, read the tall, easily visible writing. Solid, real, seemingly permanent, and by the next morning, gone completely. With no work lined up for the rest of the week, I drove over to Wrexham. Kath, the friendly librarian there, directed me to some archives, government papers, old newspapers. Disappointingly, local records had little new information for me about the village. Little of interest, anyway. Until, that is, I noticed that the Cefn Coch Parish logs, which stopped abruptly in 1954 as expected, contained a note, half erased, dated November 1953. It read simply, "Village condemned. Cause, spiritual infection." I thought again of my great-grandmother's words. The best thing that ever happened to that place was being flooded. The local historical society meeting I wandered into on the Wednesday was my next port of call. Spiritual infection? No one had heard of such a phrasing. A few people mockingly laughed. One person claimed that it was obviously some sort of later addition to the records and not to be taken seriously. Why then, I asked myself later, did one woman, older, shaking slightly, feel the need to make the sign of the cross on my mentioning the name of Cefn Coch? Mel phoned the next morning, moaning about odd bits of stray audio caught on all the footage. I didn't know what he meant. "Have a listen yourself, then," he said angrily. It was almost inaudible at first. Had we all somehow picked up some sort of radio transmission? Was that even possible? Putting the audio he sent over through Audacity and boosting the volume, I could hear it more clearly now. The odd whispered word, madness, the other path. Soft at first, like reeds blown in the wind. Then clearer, fragmented phrases, indecipherable Latin at times. Little pockets of unwelcome audio all over the playback. I found myself back there again about an hour before sunset, alone of course at that time of day in the hard-to-find location. The weather report on the car's radio was predicting the end of the hot spell, rain by Monday at the latest. Heavy rain. I flew the drone lower this time. I needed to view inside the church one more time. I had no idea why. The drone slipped through a jagged window. The feed was dim. Even so, there they were. No mistake. A ring of figures, hoods drawn low, surrounded the inverted altar, flickering in and out of existence as I watched them. Their mouths moved. No sound. The stone was slick with something dark. A child, bound, knelt in the centre of them all. I pulled the drone back, breath caught in my throat. "That's enough," I gasped, and I meant it. I was done. I hit return. Nothing happened. The drone hovered, and then seemingly reluctantly it emerged again, rose high into the air above the drowned village. I pressed return again, and nothing. I looked up. The sky was indigo now. The drone's red light pulsed, then deepened. Not like an LED now, but like something alive. Its frame, its existence altered, shifted. Blades transforming into limbs, into angles never built. Wires reached outward like veins. The lens, if that was what it still was, blinked. Once, Twice? Oh, I should have run. I didn't. It began to descend, slowly at first, but then with an ever-increasing pace. Silently, wings spread wide, its body no longer metal, instead something evil, ancient inside the casing, something patient, buried, waiting for the reservoir to drain. I opened my mouth, maybe to scream, maybe to ask a question of it. It fell upon me. Somewhere in the distance, in a broken church tower, a bell, broken, rusted, long gone, began to toll into the late evening sun.
Byth anghofio, byth maddu, byth never forget, never forgive, byth anghofio, byth maddu, byth never forget.